So slight adjusting here.
That's
There
cool.
we go.
While you do that, I'm going to give a little shout out to Killcliff. Thank you for sending me a box filled with some of these delicious clean energy drinks and CBD drinks, which I've been enjoying to recover from injuries and whatnot. The CBD is always great. And also, shout out to El Yucateco Hot Sauce, who's sending me a box of delicious hot sauces to eat with some tacos and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And my patrons, Tony Castro, bendiciones. Thank you so much. Cool. Now we can get started. Hi, Jessica.
Hi. How you doing, man? Long time no speak.
I know. How long has it been? Like a year? Maybe a year and a half?
We saw each other at
NAMM. We saw each other at NAMM. But the podcast we did, I think that was a year ago, more or less, right?
That was a long time ago. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think about a year ago, if not longer.
It's funny that because you were saying what a year we've had. It's only been a year, which it's not that much time, but so much has happened that it feels like forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for everyone, I'm pretty sure this has been the heaviest year that most people have had to deal with ever in their lives collectively, I think.
It's pretty nuts. I mean, if you want to like be weird and go back all the way to like, you know, the Inquisition days and whatnot, I'm sure things were worse. That's what a lot of people try to bring up. Like, it's been worse. It's like, yeah, I guess.
Well, we're talking about our lifetimes, and like this is a time where everyone we know is affected some way, you know, like not being able to work, not being able to tour, not being able to feel comfortable outside, fighting with your friends and family over the dumbest shit, you know, like people have really kind of lost it this year. So well, I think on a lot of levels.
Yeah. And I mean, more important than ever is that people start meditating during this time. Like I know you and I talked about that before and how important it is to meditate and, you know, maybe not particularly subscribe to a specific religion or any kind of thing, but just give yourself some peace, especially now to heal and try and figure out how we can get past all this together, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Meditation is not a religious thing. It's something that you do for your own well-being. It's like taking a warm bath when your muscles are sore. Same kind of mindset into that. You're doing something that's going to ultimately help you, and by helping yourself, you'll be able to help other people. So you'll be a better person for other people who may need you.
Right. You know, and I've explained this before. I think maybe even you and I talked about it, but it's just, you know, when you go to bed, you're resting your body from the whole day's worth of work that you did. But, you know, most people experience dreams or, you know, they have things that they, you know, they're not really getting good rest. They're just kind of thinking too much and they're stressed out. So their brain is just going even when you're in bed resting. And there's really the only time to actually rest your brain and your mind and your consciousness is when you're taking some time to meditate. That's the only time. You know?
Absolutely. Then those dreams then interrupt that restful sleep and you end up more tired, more anxious. So you need to figure out how to, you know, get your brain under control. When you get your brain under control, then the problems of the day seem conquerable. They're not impossible to get over, you know?
Yeah. And even myself, like, you know, even though I'm aware of this and I practice meditation and everything and yoga, and I still, you know, like I've been struggling a lot lately with this new thing of dealing with willfully ignorant people. They want to be ignorant. I have friends that I talk to and I'm like, hey man, did you watch The Social Dilemma about social media and how it's affecting your children? And he's like, no, I don't care. It's like, what? What do you mean you don't care that some company is controlling your children through advertising? You don't care at all? And they're like, nah, it's fine. It doesn't affect me. It's like, and there's a lot of that going on. Like when the Black Lives Matter movement was happening, like, it doesn't affect me. I don't see racism. It's like, what are you talking about?
I mean, I recently had an acquaintance, I was saying, now a friend, acquaintance that said racism doesn't exist, you know, at all. Because that person feels that in their life, they don't experience that. So just because you don't experience something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Now is the time for open conversations. Now is the time for us to share personal stories, like these facts and figures and numbers and memes and all that. It's just furthering dividing us, further putting us more into this like almost gang mentality, it feels like. Where I've experienced this, of course every election we have our rah-rah, vote for this guy moment, but this is almost like gangs. It's like us and them, as if everyone in this group is good and everyone in that group is bad. People are fucked up on both sides. There are bad people on both sides. There are people that are monsters on both sides. So don't say that our side is good and our side is right and our side is wrong, or your side, it's so silly to do these generalizations of anything. In any case, but especially with politics, we should be sitting together at the table, and having been frank, honest discussions, as opposed to, well, you guys are stupid, it's belittling like kindergarten schoolyard level.
Oh yeah, it's all name calling in school. That's all it is, and it's bleeding into everything. Like, look at the debates they had. It was name calling. That's all they were doing. Hey man, shut up! Hey, yeah, this clown, and it's like, okay, cool, but adults, where are you?
Disgraceful. As an American citizen, you should be angry about that, because we should be better than that, right? That's what we pride ourselves on democracy and our candidates being able to speak for us. How can they speak for us and they can't even speak to each other? And how are we supposed to hear what this person has to say when they're just talking over each other? It should be, it was pretty shameful. Same thing with this like simultaneous town hall garbage, It's furthering to make sure that we don't ever hear the other side, whether you agree or disagree in general. You should always keep your ears open and mind open to what the other side may have to say. But by having both of these events at the same exact time, you're making people choose and then sit in an echo chamber where they're hearing exactly what they want to hear. So how does that help anything? The whole point of fixing things is to hear things that you don't want to hear and try to come to some agreement, try to come to some middle ground so that we can all be happy and prosperous and peaceful and calm.
Yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen The Social Dilemma, the movie? Documentary?
I'm very well aware of it as someone who's part of my job is marketing and PR and all that. And you see, we see even when we were shopping for a sofa, I never searched on my phone for a sofa or couch or anything, but simply by talking about it in the room, then these ads would pop up on my phone. As if I were doing searches on my phone or in my browsers or whatever. It's the mic is always on, the camera's always on. That's the deal, and I'm very observant of that. And a lot of people are not. They just think like, wow, how cool. Now all my ads are this. It's like, no, it's just following you around, man.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think like that, and I'm to a certain degree, if I were to separate myself completely, I can agree with, if I'm going to get ads, then I guess it's better if they're tailored to what I care about. But I shouldn't be getting ads in my life. You know what I mean? Like in real life. If I'm watching a TV show and there's an ad, I get that. If I'm watching a radio podcast and there's an ad, I get that. But walking around trying to buy a couch?
I mean, look, I had an ad that said, "How was your experience with Sofania Kompaniet?" And I'm like, how the fuck did you know?
GPS tracking, yeah.
We bought it's like, I forgot the GPS is on, like, how did you know that we ended up picking from this company? I never used my phone for that. So, I mean, but a lot of people are not aware of that. They just brush it off like no big deal. And there are some things that I guess you can brush off as no big deal, but there are some times where it's just like, the camera's on when it shouldn't be, like you're using something in the bathroom, like you're watching your face. Maybe you have I have my phone on the desk, on the sink a lot of times. And I was using a little roller, to keep myself youthful and all that. And then all these ads for rollers started popping up. And I didn't search any. I already had one that I bought in a physical store. I didn't Google it. But then because I was using it and perhaps my camera saw it, now like, boom, bombarded. Hi, baby. Honey.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
The
With surprise.
yeah. The phone that I have has a thing called Bixby Vision.
Oh
That is,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like an app, and it picks up any item you have and it tells you what it is, where to buy it, how much it costs. So yeah, I'm sure that they use that technology for what you're explaining about the rollers. That's nuts.
For everything, for everything. I mean,
Yeah.
there's good aspects of it when you, especially if you live in a foreign country and you need to translate something real quickly. Like I had some documents that came in, you take a picture of it and it translates it for you, like on the screen,
That's
which is
awesome.
really cool. But then you're like, wow, I just put this personal document out in the world. Like,
Yeah.
was that the thing? But sometimes you really need to know what that menu says. No,
Yeah.
but
No, it's such a weird it is a weird double-edged sword. Because the technology can be useful, but it's being abused. And I'm not a fan of government oversight and regulations and whatnot. I think that some order needs to be had in the world in order for it to function properly, but overreaching is not acceptable. But that's one of those things where I feel like it's too unregulated. There's too much freedom on the internet for corporations like that to just manipulate everyone. That should be.
when we get those apps and you really want that dominoes game or whatever the hell you want to play, you scroll through that whole list
Yeah.
and you never read it and you hit accept just because you want that download so bad.
Terms of service.
You've given them the permission. So I mean, it's really our own fault as consumers that we want it now. We want what we want it now. We want it in our hand. But
Yeah.
it comes with price, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were talking about it, and I noticed it almost immediately after you started talking about it, the shadow banning thing, where if you're like so the corporations are able to do all of that, and malicious forces are able to use these tools. However, if I post an episode, and in the description, I put the word politics, not my opinion on it, I don't even mention the president, just the word politics, boom, I got the axe. Are you kidding me? I can't even say the word politics. So I'm being censored by them, but it's okay for this ad to go through. Like it's that tells me we need some kind of regulation. Something has to happen. Like,
I mean,
it's not.
it all comes down to money. I mean, I feel like ever since I switched to a more public, the business style profile, the numbers have changed. The way I interact with my friends online has changed. I don't see I don't see your stuff. I have to go looking for it.
Yep.
And same with a lot of people I know that have business accounts. You don't see that. And then I asked some friends, like, have you seen my posts or anything? And like, did you see this? No, I haven't seen your stuff in weeks. I'm like, but I've been posting almost every day. And then I think, well, what's the point then? Maybe it's time to go back to your own private website that you pay for, you host, and we do like the old days and we go check up on our friends individually one time, and we do those stupid email chains. We go back to like hardcore message board, East Coast hardcore message board.
MailChimp.
Remember that? You really liked the post, you would bump it back up to the top, and all the details that you need would be there. The show time, set list, all that stuff was always there.
Maybe that's what it needs to be. Maybe that's what it needs to be. We need to go back.
Or we can like each other and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's make a new social media app that isn't controlled by advertising, something that is a little more old school like that. I think that'd be cool.
Like actually checking up on your friends. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I do it all the time, and I know that some friends probably think I'm annoying because I text people all the time. I'm like, how are you? Are you okay? Everything good? Safe? Family's good? All right. That's it. Just making sure you're alive and things are good, because people forget that, and they forget that we're struggling, and you're also not alone. Like everyone's having a hard time right now. So reach out to your friends and stuff,
Exactly. And because everyone is having a hard time, it's kind of hard not to fall into this pit of selfishness and despair, like in your own little bubble. But what's going to make all this easier is to continue to reach out to friends and family and say what's up, and have your little cute memes that you share with each other and photos. And, I'm going to a virtual Zoom wedding tomorrow,
Nice.
Just that we can't be together, but at least, you know, I can chat with my tias for 20, 30 minutes. Whereas even if we were all in the same city, we might not see each other for a couple of months at a time. So, I mean, these little things are going to help us out ultimately get through this, whatever this is.
Yeah. Yeah. Your screen kind of froze right now. I'm not sure if it's me or you. Oh, there you are. There you are. You're good. You're back. Yeah, no, I agree. And you know what's funny is that I have been doing little video chats more with friends lately than I ever did before. You know, friends that have moved out to different states that we kind of just check in on Facebook. Now we're actually like, hey, on Friday, happy hour. And it's like, oh shit, okay. And we just get together on Zoom and drink and talk to each other, you know?
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Hopefully we'll develop that habit, continue that habit of checking up on each other. I mean, just pick a day, like 1 day a week, 1 hour a day that you have your list, like then you just go down the list. Like, hey man, what's up? Just say I miss you, love you, hope you're good. That's it. It doesn't have to be a whole big conversation either. Just thinking of you, miss you. It means it can mean a lot and usually hits at the right time when you do that, I find. So
for sure, for sure. Also keeping yourself busy is something that I've noticed is helping me during these times. Just keep working, keep grinding. You've been working. You've got new music. You know, you just dropped a new single. I don't know how to pronounce that. Negparchiwa?
Yeah, Neparchiwa. It's like if you were to say sing, that last ng, sing. So Neparchiwa means the certainty of death in Tibetan. It's a little based off Tibetan death meditations that are used as a part of regular practice in Tibetan Buddhist system.
Now, death meditation sounds scary to some people. I kind of have an idea of what it is, but if you want to explain what death meditation is to anyone that's listening.
It sounds super scary, you know, I'm sure that if you just hear death meditation, it sounds like, oh, sinister or something like that. It's actually quite the opposite. It's just reminding yourself that, you know, I think a lot of us do this naturally, that every morning that we wake up, it's not guaranteed. So you kind of remember when you wake up that it's a new day, it's a new start, new life. And at any point during this day, the life could finish. And when we go to bed, that we may not wake up in the morning. So if you have that reminder of how fragile it is to be in this human body and how special it is to be in this human body, because it took a lot for you to get here and to be here as long as you've been here. So if you constantly remind yourself of these things, you know, it will change your attitude as to how you deal with the world around you, how you deal with people around you, how you deal with the problems that you face. Of course, we all have problems. We all have suffering. We all have struggles. We all have goals that we want. We all have desires and wishes and dreams and hopes for the future, but it's not guaranteed. Doesn't mean, oh, well, I might die today. I'm not going to make any plans. I'm not going to set any goals for my future. I'm just going to live my life. No, it's remembering how precious it is that you're here and how precious you are to those people who love you, how much they will miss you when you leave, and to be friends with death, because, you know, ultimately that's the one thing we all have. It's the one common denominator that we all have, and keeping that always in the mind will change the way you deal with other people as well. The way you deal with the stress of life, you know, the way you deal with that unexpected bill, you know what, I'm going to die. So like, calm down. There's a bigger picture than this, because sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, you know. Yeah. We're stuck on a problem. We get stuck on a goal. We get stuck on a failure. And then we can't see the big picture. So when you see that big picture, it's just one little blip in a giant story. So it will pass. It's going to be fine. Yeah. So that's death meditation is all about.
Sounds pretty important, I would say. Don't you think?
It's pretty important for all of us to realize how lucky we are, even when we feel that everything is against us, even if we are sick or hurt or broke or tired or whatever we're feeling negatively right now. We all need to realize that there's someone out there who has it worse, you know?
Right. Right.
And things can always get worse. So be grateful for what you have and where you have and how you're living right now.
For sure.
The fact that you're living right now.
Yeah.
Unless there's
Even
ghosts watching. Out to all the poltergeists out there.
it is Halloween season, so who knows? No, but it's funny to that you mentioned that too, because there is a segment of society that kind of likes to, like, they're into that, like, well, there is no point, and like they don't even make their beds in the morning, so it's going to be hard to convince them to start meditating on the fact that every day is a gift. They automatically, like, why am I going to make the bed if I'm going to go to bed later? That kind of mentality.
Mess it up later. Yeah, that's kind of exactly the kind of great analogy for death meditations. Like, why am I going to make the bed if I'm just going to get into it later? Because you might not get into it later. That's the whole point,
Yeah.
And
leave it nice.
Yeah, that ritual is meaningful. That ritual is meaningful. You went through a hard day. You were able to sleep in a comfortable bed, and now you're thankful for it. It's the gratitude of waking up and seeing what the day faces, and hopefully you'll get there tonight. But if not, at least your ritual.
Yeah. I've thankfully, I guess I could say it's thankfully, I was forced into that world of thinking about that because of a car accident. And, it made me realize, like, oh, wait, there is more to life after death. And what is it? And how can I learn about it? And people don't think about that. Even if it is if it's the one truth, like they say, what is it? Death and taxes are the only things that, so it's one of those things. Death is something that's going to happen to all of you. And no one takes not no one, but a lot of people don't take the time to figure out what happens after. They're just like, oh no, it's black, it's empty, you're dead, it's a void, or I go to heaven, or whatever religion you're into. It's like, don't you want to know a little bit more? Don't you want to look into that? Don't you want to explore that? Like, be ready for it? I don't know.
I think not everyone is ready for that conversation, or I think a lot of people are afraid of it, And even if it's only blackness at the end, even if that is it, at least on the way out, you don't have to be in a panic about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said about having a good death and having a peaceful death, not just for your own sake, so that the last few moments that you have on this planet are not in panic, adrenaline rush panic, but also how the way it affects people around you who may be there with you. And also, they're going to carry on the memory of your death. So being able to face it bravely, calmly, will also help them ultimately. No matter what happens after that, I think that's up to everybody to look into and decide at their own pace, depending on their own personal experiences or what they believe they can handle or what they choose to accept. That's on you. I would never impose anything on someone else. I think just your mind reaches its limits, and you go with what's comfortable to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any kind of family that's going to be there that you're leaving behind, and you care about them at all, you got to think about that. Like you mentioned it, and I've never really, I've thought of the idea of, obviously what I'm leaving for my family behind, but it's such an important thing, that trauma that happens when the death happens, and if you can be prepared enough so that you can leave your family at peace, knowing that they're like, oh, he was at least at peace. You know what I mean? But if you go out screaming and kicking, that's going to the rest of their lives. You're like, oh my God, it was so horrible.
Yeah, of course.
Breaking of course. Up a little bit.
And into your next life. Freezing up. So are you. For Buddhists, that is traumatizing for your next life as well. It's kind of like, because you've kicking and screaming. I mean, there's a reason we come in kicking and screaming too. Like, oh no, not again.
Send me back. What are you doing?
I thought I passed this level.
So what do you think needs to happen in thinking of it as a Buddhist, what do you need to accomplish by the end of your life in order to return to the source and not be reincarnated in another body?
Tricky question, depends on what school you're at. For example, some people take a vow that but they will continue to be reborn in any place where suffering exists, so that they can help sentient beings, help relieve the suffering of all sentient beings. So like you take this vow and it's like an eternal vow, not just a vow for your life, like a marriage vow, or for as long as you decide to stay married, or a life vow. It's an eternal vow for as long as space endures, as long as time endures, as long as any sentient being endures, so too may I endure to ease the suffering of the world. So that's one thing that can happen to you.
Nice.
But if you really truly want to not come back in this form, in this meat suit, you really need to reach a very high level of understanding of the true nature of reality, where you have let go of all concepts, conditions, and labels that do not exist. We've created these labels, these words, these images, putting names to things that are inherently non-existent. They only exist because the observer has chosen to give them this form, shape, through their feelings. So once you get over that, and then you get over the concept of I, and then the I that doesn't exist cannot return. Easy stuff. Like in a weekend, you can totally get it.
I was just asking for a friend, not for me personally.
Asking for a friend. But the fun part is getting to the point. It's not the goal. It's something that would happen without your trying. If you continue on a path of compassion and wisdom, of letting go of your preconceived notions and concepts, it's something that will happen whether you choose for it to happen or not. It's not like you can't like set like a date on the calendar or do X amount of prayers, or it's a natural progression of steps of enlightenment, because enlightenment is not the end. Nirvana is not the end.
No.
Nirvana is one part, and then there's more to do it after.
I would say it's the beginning. Not the very beginning, but at least in the first couple chapters.
I agree so too. I think it's once you hit that door, then you're like, and now we begin.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. I had a period of time in in my 20s where I was really into it, like meditating multiple hours a day, taking psychedelics, speaking, going to these meetings with like gurus and yogis and people that practice different types of breathing techniques and all this. And I got to the point where every night I was willfully and consciously putting myself in a state of visiting other dimensions and documenting it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start breathing in this pattern, and it's going to put me in that meditation state. And then I would immediately start traveling somewhere. Like I'd wake up somewhere, and I'd try to come, as soon as I'd wake up, I'd try to write down everything I saw. And it was like crazy architecture that was mixed fusion of architecture between like Indian and Gothic and, weird giant Egyptians that are feeding off of violence and like different things that I was just like, wow, like I was observing all of these different things and taking them as me visiting a different dimension as opposed to just coming up with it. My imagination, this is my dream. I just made that up. Like, I'm not that creative.
Doesn't matter. Real? Is it real? Is it not real? Is this real? Is it not real? Doesn't matter. It's real in that moment. So right. Therefore, you did go to other dimensions. That's not a question to me.
And that all was a result of having that out of body experience through my car accident. Like having been dead, having been brought back to life with paddles, having to, that whole thing, that whole process opened up like a little door of like me exploring more of like what's going to happen once this flesh package dies. Like what do I do? What's going to go? And then I realized like, oh, there's so much more, that's going to happen afterwards, and choices to be made. And I did reach like a moment of blankness, of just void. It was nothing. There was nothing there, and I was just observing nothingness. And then from there, I was like, this is kind of boring. So I'm gonna. There's nothing here. I'm gonna go. So and that's when I started exploring and visiting different areas, because it was just yeah, like the nirvana, the bliss, that moment of that epiphany is cool to reach because it facilitates what's coming next, as opposed to like I don't think that's the main goal. Going there and hanging out there is not the goal.
Sitting around, and when you've kind of like seen emptiness directly, for example, and you don't have words for anything, and you don't have labels, like you can't say green plant or yellow flower. It's just like stuff. Yeah. And all the stuff is like pleasurable and awesome and happiness and like great. You can only do that for so long at a time, I think, in this form. Yeah, but you need to hit that kind of benchmark of meditation, concentration, focus, and clarity to be able to go to the next step and get real work done, for sure.
So 31 minutes later, Alekhine's Guns got new music, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Hi. I remember we were talking about music. We released 2 singles this year. We were working on something, and then everything hit, and we're all separated, and everyone's kind of like fallen into their lives.
Well, you went out to Sweden. You weren't living in Sweden before all this, were you?
We were doing the back and forth thing that me and my guy have been doing for 5 years, but he's not an American citizen, and we heard that the borders were closing. And it's funny, not really funny, but it wasn't funny at the time either. I had my tickets booked to go so that we could be together, and then we heard the borders were closing on Wednesday, so I moved my ticket again, and then I woke up like, borders are closing tomorrow.
Oh my God.
30 minutes to pack to come here for who knows how long, and I didn't do a very good job because it was like a panic attack pack, and as I'm packing, my flight got canceled, so I had to book another flight while I was packing, and like but I made it 4 hours before they closed the border of the EU. So
wow.
When I landed in London for my layover, the borders for EU were closed, but Sweden had waited another day. So I just made it 4 hours before that, because if I would not have made it, I would not have been able to enter the country, and he would not have been able to leave.
Wow, so man. It's almost like it was meant to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt. No one's going to stop me. Try to stop Latina getting in to see her pachulo. I dare you. Impossible. You're not going to win that argument. Yeah, so we decided to release some music that we had been just sitting on for a while, and it just seemed appropriate. We did release 2 singles. Neparchiwa, the death meditation, which is very simple. It's just the lyrics are up there to read. It's just a simple contemplation, no religious aspect to it. And the first single that we released this year is called 21, which is my kind of a wrathful offering, a version of the Tibetan prayer called 21, homage to the 21 Taras. Tara is feminine energy, divine energy that can be as sweet as your grandma, or as wrathful as any ferocious dragon that you could meet. It spans all the levels of divinity and power, and it felt like the right thing, because traditionally in Tibetan culture, Tara is like your mom when you really need help, when you need guidance. It's that wrathful love, compassion, power, that it just felt right to have that out in the world during these times.
Yeah. And the album is called The Year of the Lazarus, right? Year of Lazarus?
Yeah. Year of the Lazarus.
Year of the Lazarus. And is there any kind of idea? I know you said everybody's kind of off on their own thing, but I mean, has there been conversations about getting together to finish it, to put it out, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think we might have one more song coming out this year for sure, and then deciding if we want to use what we've been working on and do it like kind of digitally, cross continentally. I'm not sure. I know a lot of bands have been working that way. It's not my favorite way to work. I'm working on that that way. Rudy has been working that way. You know, like I said, it's not my favorite, especially with Alekhine's Gun, which is such a personal project. It's nice to be in the room together to feed off that energy, feed off each other. But, you know, it is what it is. And if there's ever any time, if there was ever a time,
There you go.
if there was ever a time where we can do things as unconventionally as we want to, I think this is the year to do it. So if we decide to release a single every 2 months for 10 years, we might do it that way, or write 50 songs and do it all in one day. Who knows? Who cares? As long as we are just doing what we love, putting out music from the heart with all our heart, and doing the best that we can to just, you know, deal with this insane year.
Yeah. Yeah. And dude, it is heavy. Okay. I heard Nerpachiwa. God, I can't say it.
Neparchiwa.
Neparchiwa.
There you go.
Okay. Neparchiwa is heavy as hell. Your screams are so intense. Like low growls are intense. It's one of the heaviest things I've heard all year. And
wow. Thank you.
Know, and it's insane to me because you know you see the your face, you look like a pretty lady, you know what I mean? And like delicate, and it's like, oh, like holy shit, like I love it. I love the intensity that's behind it, you know, because I love that it's pushing boundaries for people like that, like myself. You know, if you see it from an outsider's perspective, you know, maybe a fan of Orange is the New Black that doesn't listen to metal at all. Then they put that on. And they're like, oh, she has a band. Ah!
That's pretty much a reaction every time, especially fans of the show that are kind of like, oh, that's cool. She has the rock and roll bands. Let's check it out.
Yeah, I wonder if it sounds like Nickelback. Nope.
Yeah, like heavy metal, like, you know, Guns N' Roses, rock and roll. Yeah, Kiss. You got a heavy metal like Kiss. Or whatever they think is metal. That's usually the reaction. I can always spot them too in the crowd when they come to shows. They're like, you know, like wide-eyed and like happy, and then they like I just destroy their dreams quickly, instantaneously. It's not what they picture. But I get, you know, that's part of it. That you know, when I'm doing those vocals, especially for AG, those lyrics are very personal. They come from another place. You know, and when I'm singing them, I'm not there, you know, it's something else, you know, channeling a different energy, channeling a power beyond this body and space and time, you know, something that just comes from a long lineage, from blessings from my teacher, from practices that I do. It comes from a very deep and personal place.
That's good to hear. And you know, pushing the physical boundaries as well of like what sound you can produce with your body. Like it makes me think of those crazy like Mongolian throat singing chants where they kind of bring something out that doesn't sound like it's supposed to be coming out of you, you know, and it gives you kind of an eerie, like this is coming from somewhere else kind of vibe. Do you do anything to warm up to get to that level of growl? Because I mean, I used to sing along to other bands and try to mimic what they're doing and then push it past that, you know, because I didn't really have like proper training. So it was just kind of like, all right, I like what Mikhail's doing in Opeth on this song. So let me try and do that. You know, do you have anything like that?
I think you have to work with what you have. So that's the first thing. And not everyone's voice is as unique as a fingerprint. So trying to mimic what someone else's does just because you like it doesn't mean it's going to work. Right. You can do your own version of it. You know, it's like you sing deep for a girl, you know, well, Tom Araya sings high for a dude. What the hell? Why are we comparing? Why are we comparing? True. You know, I can't sing King Diamond. God damn it. I wish I could. I can try. It won't sound well, but I can try. All right. But accept accept the instrument that you're in, accept what you have and work with it. Of course, with practice, with time, you'll be able to stretch it. You'll be able to like any athlete, you know, you'll be able to expand your boundaries as you do it little by little, of course. And over the years, I'm a musician, trained musician. I also took vocal classes when I was in theater school. That was part of it. So I developed a very good physical warm up. First, the body's warmed up, and vocal warm up. Just, you know, it may start like, I don't want to do it now, but it makes it sound kind of like operatic at times. And then I'll go down into a growl, just stretching little by little, you know, like when you can't touch your toes in the beginning and by the end you have your head on your knees. Little by little, you'll do that. And also mentally, limiting yourself mentally by saying, I don't think I can do this, or this doesn't sound like something I can do. We can all do all of these things. You just have to remember that it's going to be under the umbrella of your own instrument, and just try. You'd be surprised. I mean, I didn't know that I could scream until my singer went to jail and didn't show up for a gig one day, and that's how I learned I learned on the spot, because I was mad, you know, and that's it. Sometimes if you're trying too hard, you end up hurting yourself. It's you just relax and go with it and have fun and just try it. What you think it may be, you know, that's definitely how I started doing it. Like, I wonder if I do this. Yeah.
Are you one of those, like, are you comfortable enough to where, like, if you're at a party and somebody's like, hey, she sings, why don't you sing us something? Like, are you able to just be like, all right, let's go? Or are you like, nah, fuck off?
Not that. No, I mean, that voice for me is not like, maybe at a party, if I've had a proper beverage or two, I can just do it like on demand, but that's not something that I can just do I can't do it right now. Right. I need to prep. I got to do some sit-ups first. I got to stretch. I got to do all that stuff first. It doesn't just come out. And also, I've associated that voice with a mindset as well. So if I'm not in that mental headspace of that sound coming out of me, it's not gonna come out. It's not gonna.
I agree. I have that issue because I was in a band for 10 years, and then whenever I would hang out with people out, they're like, "Oh, Eddie sings. Dude, do that crazy growl you do." And I'm like, I can't, man. And it's not because I don't want to, or I physically, like, it's what you said. It's my state of mind. When I am screaming, it's because I am in that zone. Like, I'm not, I can't just do that now here at a bar with kids around. Like,
you have to be connected, or you have to be in you have to be in the right, for whatever that is to you, whatever that means to you. But for me, it has to be connection or feeling really like safe. I'm in a good party that we can, when you're with your friends, then it's no problem also. But it has to be connected. It doesn't just come from here. That's the first mistake, is thinking your voice comes from here. Your voice comes from here and down there, and your feet and your toes and the floor downstairs and the ceiling above you. That's where your voice comes from.
Yeah. It's a full body thing, and people don't get that. Like, when I used to perform, it was my entire body was wrecked the next day. You know what I mean? I needed to drink tons of water, stretch out, just because it was, especially, with heavier music, because it's not just the singing and the getting the passion out, but, the performing aspect of, like, head banging, making it exciting for people. Because if you just stand there and, like, no offense to Serge from System of a Down, love the guy, love his music, but boy, is that onstage presentation not great. Like, he just stands there and like, I'm like, dude, move around. Be excited. Just a little bit.
Not a hardcore kid.
Yeah, that's what it is. Also, I wanted to bring up the year of the Lazarus. Like, that is, you talk a lot about Tibetan Buddhism and the Tibetan chant of meditation for death, but yet Lazarus is kind of a Christianity type of thing, right? Is it Christianity or Catholicism? I don't know which one it is.
It's the Bible story of, well, there are two Lazarus, but the Lazarus, it's funny because when Jeff Martinez and I were writing a lot of this, like when you have that, what is it? Is it the Mandela Effect when you see things over and over? No, that's when you see things wrong.
Yeah, you see things that you misremember as a Mandela Effect.
Well, that's not it. The one where you're seeing things over and over, the same thing. And
deja vu.
No, that's because you've been there before. This is like, we would watch movies and like Lazarus would come up, or, I'd go in the airport and the #1 bestseller was like something Lazarus, something, or then I did a play, one woman show a couple of years ago, and the main kind of one of the main points that the character brings up is the story of Lazarus, the rich man and the poor man outside the gate. And also, you know, I love the story of Lazarus in general, that resurrection story. And I thought, because we hadn't put out anything in quite some time, that just a little reminder that we didn't die. You know, here we are, we're back again. We're back from the dead. And it's really that simple.
It's funny because Lazarus has always been a big part of my life. With my it's my uncle's birth saint or whatever. My family was into Santeria, and they attached themselves to specific saints. So like my uncle wears a little like beaded wristband. It's not a wristband, but it's just like a little bracelet with green and yellow beads, and it's for him. And you know, I always remember the statues around the house of him with the dogs licking his wounds, and you know, it's weird. Like I saw it, I'm like, there he is again. It's been there my whole life. It's such an interesting tale and story of that. You know, even if you're not a religious person, just look into these stories of some of these people that have been written that are just, they have meaning, you know. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring up, like, do you still kind of maybe not agree or subscribe to it, but like, you know, there's certain things in the Bible that make sense, you know what I mean, when you compare it to other beliefs as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, stories are stories that have been handed down since the beginning of time. The Bible isn't exclusively a Christian story or Hebrew story or Abrahamic story. These are bits and pieces of things that were before then as well, added in. So the truth is the truth, no matter what umbrella you want to put it under. You know, no matter what color you want to fill in the color by numbers, it's still the same image at the end. So, you know, the story about how suffering ultimately can help you transcend in your next level, will build your character, or not being able to see what you think is paradise being out of reach. I think that's universal if we apply that to our lives now. That we may feel that we always want that house on the mountain, we want #1 billboard, we want the girl, we want the car, we want all these things, and we're not quite there. But maybe those things are not meant for you. You're meant for something greater at the end. These things are not going to bring you happiness, because that guy that had all the things was miserable. He's garbage, and at the end of the day, he ended up suffering eternally for it. So I think that's pretty universal, cross-cultural, cross-religion story.
Yeah. That's how I've been living my life, and I feel, you know, and it's easy to tell other people you should live life like me, but it's I think beneficial for everyone to take a look at all of the things and infuse them together. Like, grab the goodness of all of these different stories and religions and dogmas and whatnot, and see the goodness in it and apply it to your life. Because at the end of the day, like, people listening to this, they see the Bible and they'll say that this is the word of God. This is how I will live my life, exactly down to the T, how the book says, because of whatever reason. But you don't have to do that. You could take the good parts of it and apply it to your life. Like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't murder people, I guess. You know what I mean?
The moral of the story parts.
Right.
Is what we can all take from that. I agree with every, you know, faith. There are some excellent moral of the story situations. There are also some pretty wacky things out there too. So you know, be very careful in your judgment.
Yeah. You know, look at Christianity and everything with the Inquisition. People seem to forget about that. You know, I know I brought it up earlier, but I watched the documentary on it, and it's just kind of, it's so crazy to me to think people believed and lived that way, where they would just torture people and women, and, you know, and try to enforce this crazy thought process into everyone. Like,
people still live that way.
Yeah.
People still live that way.
How are we still there?
As privy to it now, but people do still live that way, and people are being murdered and killed as we speak because their religious beliefs do not align with those in power. and it's sad and it's terrible, but it's the disgusting parts of being human.
Mhm.
We need to
I don't know.
evolve as humanity needs to evolve in general, or this will continue to happen no matter who's holding the whip, who's holding the sword. It just changes hands. That's all it does.
And I think it's really easy to say that this evolution that we need is going to come from an outside source. A lot of people I've heard, conspiracy theorists, that are like, aliens are going to come and help us evolve. It's like, only you can do that.
You will help you evolve if you choose to evolve. Aliens,
Yeah.
they're already here. They've been here. They're bored with us.
Yeah, they pass by. In fact, I mean, if I was an alien and I flew by this planet, and I saw the satellite image of Earth covered in garbage. It looks like a garbage ball from just space garbage. And like, if I was an alien and I drove by this ball of garbage, I would, it's one of those things, like you see it in movies, like just roll up the window and lock the door. Like, I'm not.
Speed up a little bit and roll up the window.
Sorry, no, I'm sorry. I don't, like.
That's pretty funny. No,
thank you. I don't see it. I don't see it coming from aliens. I think it's something that you got to do yourself. You got to work on yourself. Thankfully, I've, pulled myself out of some pretty bad, deep holes, and giving myself that time to meditate and think about other people and empathy. Empathy. That's what we're missing. Empathy. Have some love for some other people.
Yeah. Absolute pure compassion is what a lot of people don't understand. And it's not the same as pity. It's absolute, just pure love, that love with no hopes of love in return. It's pure compassion for other people's situations, which ultimately are your own.
Yeah, that's what people don't see. They don't see that it's your problem too. Like, they think, I live in my bubble, everything's fine. Like, no, it's not. They're coming for you next. Like, that's happening, especially Latinos. I see a lot of Latinos they're like, oh, everything's fine with me. My job, I'm making good money. I don't care about, let's vote for Trump. He's got everything. The economy's great. I'm like, okay. You do realize at the end of the day, you're still Latino. You're not, you came here on a boat.
When you start letting people chip away at the rights of others, eventually they'll come for you too. So sometimes you learn that the hard way. I don't know. I feel like after this election, no matter who wins, it's going to be a pretty rough few months, at least, for sure, with everyone's flaring opinions and these hate glasses that everyone has on. It's going to be really rough. And I'm kind of very happy that I'm not in the country at the moment to see this directly. I'm too sensitive of a person. Like, this is like already even computer stuff. I have to take a break from Facebook, for example, where it's very opinionated, or especially with people that because you're starting to see colors in people that you never saw before. So it kind of makes you think, like, how did I not see this angle or this aspect of this person before? Am I a bad judge of character, or are they becoming this way, or am I just that stupid, or have I changed, or it's a little bit of a confusing time. But they definitely lost a lot of friends, or definitely changed my views and level of respect regarding a lot of people and things that they've said and the way they choose to express themselves. So it's not even about agree or disagree, but how they choose to deal with other people who disagree with them, and the level of respect that they show for other people has been, makes you question, like, who you want to have in your life, who should be close to you, and why are you even associating with certain people? Right. I have a friend who's like, eats up QAnon with a big bowl and a spoon every day.
QAnon is the pedophiles and the Democrats are pedophiles, right? Is that the one?
Worshipping, baby eating, all that stuff. But it's not just that. I mean, they have all these bulletins and stuff. Okay, I some of it is very entertaining. Some of it is hilarious. Some of it is interesting. Some of it is like, what? They have a point. But some of it is just like so nuts. And when you see someone that you consider a friend or and they're into the really nuts ones, then makes you worry about who you bring in your life or your home, or, you know, I mean, there's some theories that are all in good fun, I guess, which is fine. And there's some that are like, yeah, that's a good point. I never did see that document. I would like to read it. Where can I read it? Things like that. That's cool. But when you have like the interstellar beings and the clones, that Trump never left the hospital. It's a clone of him actually that's happening right now. It's just too much sometimes. Like every celebrity is a clone. Every woman that's in power is a transsexual, transgender. I mean, it's like,
it's just name call. It's just name calling, like we were saying earlier. All it is. Yeah. It's your own self-esteem and your own ego attacking you, and you are projecting that anger on anybody else. And I know it sounds stupid or whatever, cliche.
It's exactly what it is. And a lot of people have this kind of like a peasant mentality, this group mentality, gang mentality, and like impoverished mentality. Like, well, rich people do that. That's what they do. And so it's okay if they do that, or just trying to like whatever angles they could take to prove their point. Like I saw some meme about Mother Teresa is really a man and is Fauci's mother. We haven't known all along. We've been lied to, and there's a clone somewhere in that story as well. Like that's a lot. That's a lot to get me to not wear a mask or whatever point I'm trying to prove. Right. That's really like mind-bending shit.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a very confusing time, and it's a little confusing for me only because I'm always caught somewhere in the middle. Like I'm such a I don't subscribe to any one side of the fence or whatever. So I'm here for people, and I have friends that are terrible, they'll say some shit, but I'm not going to cut them off. And I have other friends who are like, you should stop talking to those people. And it's like, well, who's going to help them? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, those are my boys. I want to help them,
Exhausting though. I mean, I think people have to be really careful about screaming at a wall, because you're just going to lose your voice after a while. You have to know, like, some people are open. A lot of times when this whole pandemic thing first started, I would see deep fakes, of Obama speeches or something, and I would put down the transcript of what was really said or whatever. If I saw something that just didn't look right, I'd sniff it out and see what the real context was, what the full context was, and then you share with other people. And some people are like, oh, I didn't see that part of the story. I didn't know this part of the news source. So I didn't know that this cut happened, or this was 10 years ago, whatever the thing may be. Some people are open to that, being corrected, finding the whole story. And some people it's so scary. Some people just believe the meme, that one little 1x1 square, whatever it says in there, that is fact for them. And that is so scary.
On the internet, it's got to be real.
It's on the internet. It's real. My mom, unfortunately, like when she first finally got my mom on the internet, and she was, en YouTube, siempre en YouTube, mirando cosas en YouTube. And she would send me WhatsApp, all the things that she would find and all the things that she'd believe. And I had to YouTube for her a video that was about me and my life, my extravagant life, my mansion that I lived in, the custom expensive, I don't even remember the brand of the car, custom expensive, like there's only 100 made a year car, my cat, I didn't even have a cat, my net worth. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I showed it to my mom. See, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's rich. Because that's not even your cat, she said. That's not even your cat. That's like the one part that really got her mad. That's not even your cat.
Oh,
these
that's
people
amazing.
Are crazy. I say, yeah, don't. The one way that we can all help ourselves with all this negativity, all these, sliding down these tubes, is to, if we're gonna Google, we're gonna do the YouTube thing, don't be signed in, number one. Do it with your anonymous browser, fine. But look for things that make you happy. Mm-hmm. Look for things that make you a better person. Google some documentaries. Google some, how to crochet shoes for kittens. Do something positive, do something happy, learn, do some playthroughs of your favorite bands. Try to do that, as opposed to falling for these conspiracy things and this negativity and stuff. We can find, if you want to do, thanks baby, if you want to do, fall down that negative hole, we don't have to do it with video. Like that YouTube stuff is really just a trap. It's like that, what is it, that pitcher plant trap, that you just go in a little bit and then you fall and then you can't get out.
Yeah.
If you really want to look for factual stuff, there are plenty of government websites to look at. There are plenty of, open document websites to look at if you really want to do homework. And don't go on YouTube and say you did research. You just watch TV.
Yeah.
That's it.
You watch some crazy guy in his basement talking crap that, after taking some Adderall or something. Like, it doesn't make it real.
And now with these green screens that we all have, it can do a nice news set behind you. Like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a news reporter, man. It's everybody living out their fantasies of being news reporters and talking about whatever they want. It's ridiculous.
Yes. And everyone now, because we have this, these platforms that we all can speak on, everyone thinks that their opinion should be heard. Everyone has the right to an opinion, of course, but some opinion, I don't want to say some opinions are more valid than others, but some people are more experts in a subject than the average person. So let's listen to those people maybe a little bit more. But now you don't know who's who has a poli-sci degree. Everyone has a political science degree. Everyone's a doctor. Everyone's a scientist. Everyone knows, earth science and chemistry. Everyone's an expert this year on everything. It's amazing.
I'm glad to have grown up Latino with a bunch of Cubans that talk a lot of shit. So I'm already used to it. Like, I grew up with like, hey, just put a little saliva on it and it'll heal it. And it's like,
there's something to
crazy.
That, there's something to that, that little bacteria, build up that immune system, rub some dirt in there, some Vicks Vapor Rub will get rid of it. We all know that.
But that's the thing. Like all the Cubans are doctors. My mother was a doctor. She was a dancer. She was a singer. She was everything that she wanted to be at some point because, you just say it out loud and it's fine.
Yeah.
Last thing I had for you, you're hosting a show on Gimme Radio. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's been a couple of years now, actually. Crushing Metal. It's kind of every other week, Wednesdays now. 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central European time. So if I'm a little cranky, it's because I need to have dinner or something if I'm on there. And it's really just a hangout. I think of it like you inviting your friends over and you play your favorite tunes for them. So I don't have any kind of specific theme. It's not like a black metal show or New York show or any specific type of music within metal. It's whatever I like, whatever I'm listening to that week. My favorite bands, a lot of you that listen to the show regularly know that I play certain bands almost like every week. I have to give them a break. But it's like what I listen to if I'm taking a walk, if I'm going out, if I'm at the gym, if I'm, if I hear what band is in town, my favorite band in town, I'll always play like my favorite stuff. So it could be a lot of black metal. It could be some hardcore, some power violence, some blast beats, some tough guy music. And it could be just some shoegazy, whatever I'm feeling that week. So that's awesome. And the chat room's fun too. And I'm usually there on the chat room for whenever it's a new episode. I pop in. You can ask me stuff. We can talk. There's a nice little community that meets up there every Wednesday, which is really, really sweet, especially now when people feel so isolated. It's been really great to have people kind of sharing their own experiences and just saying what's up to strangers around the world and having a good laugh.
That's awesome. That's awesome because that's something that I find super important is being able to discover new music. And when you hear radio stations, you're getting a very carefully curated, set of songs on repeat. But when it's something like this, you get to explore and play whatever you want that from friends or whatnot, and find new music and communicate with each other, which is fun.
Yeah, super great. I'm so happy I'm part of it. And there's a new shirt. We just started, we had Vinyl of the Month Club. Now we have T-shirt of the Month Club, which is really good. Limited number of exclusive T-shirts for our Gimme Metal fans, our members. And this month, November, is my shirt, the Crusher shirt. And my two of my very good friends, Jonah Ellis and Jessica Machete, designed it, two top New York City tattoo artists. And
Nice.
it's so cool. It's like combining, some Buddhist practice, beautiful, spiritual, divine lady there with some really just gore. It's like just a beautiful design. And there's only a few for this month. So I'm pretty excited about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, everybody that's listening, please check that out. Sign up, be a part of something. Be a part of something fun and exciting, not something conspiratorial and damaging. You also were nominated for in Rain Dance, right? For the Gets Good Light. Was that nominated for Best Short?
Nominated for Best Short, which was really, really nice. Unfortunately, we obviously we were in a few film festivals and received some accolades, but we were not able to attend any in person. So, I mean, awesome and a bummer at the same time, but I mean, as they say, it's an honor to be nominated,
Right.
as always. So it's been weird, but we've dealt with it our own way. We've been doing Zoom red carpets and dressing up at home and watching watching movies, casting it onto the TV from the laptop or whatever. Just adapt, and that's it. We're still enjoying the work, and we're happy that people are enjoying the work around the world now. So the baby's out, which is.
Is there any other projects that are coming up that we should be keeping an eye out for? I mean, aside from new music from the year of the Lazarus, is there something else that we should be waiting for?
Yeah, I'm working on several things right now, so I'd like to, the old tradition, keep it quiet till it's time.
Right.
Keep it quiet till it's time. But there are some things brewing over here in Casa de Crusher. We got some new stuff happening, some writing, some music, some books, some projects.
Okay.
Yeah, so
there may or may not be a project between you and hubby.
Right now, our project is finishing this bottle of champagne that he brought home. That's the only project we have right now.
Very cool. Well, I'm gonna let you go then, so you can do all that. And but I appreciate your time again. It's always good talking to you.
Such a pleasure seeing you. I always love talking with you, chatting with you. I'm glad to see that you're doing well. Glad your friends, family, everybody's good.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll do this again sooner than later.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Anytime. You got open door policy here. So awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Tell your hubby I say what's up. I know he hates podcasts, but maybe one day.
He's saying,
yeah.
He says hi.
Like, no. Oh, man. All right. Cheers.
All right. Cheers. Adios. Bye-bye. Take care, everybody. Be good.
Bye.